Welcome to Heart of the Haven, an education series about domestic and family violence. I'm your host, Samantha Anderson from the Haven Nepean Women's Shelter. Today, I'm speaking to Sam Campbell, Executive Officer, Client Services. Sam brings with her over 10 years' experience in the domestic and family violence sector, specialising in working with women and children. Together, we'll take you into the heart of change and show you how community can respond to disclosures. Thank you, Sam.
Thanks.
Okay, so I want to know, if someone discloses to you that they're experiencing domestic and family violence, what can someone do in that situation to help?
So, responding to disclosures of domestic or family violence can be really tricky, particularly as a general member of the community. There's a couple of do's, and I can talk you through some really practical ways and tips to approach it, but it's also really important to know that there's a couple of don'ts, a couple of things to steer away from. So the 3 do's is to listen, actively listen to the person, don't interrupt them, let them go in their flow of conversation. The second part is to validate. That can be some really simple language around, I can hear this is really hard for you. I can see how this is impacting you. I believe you. Then the third thing is to offer open help. So don't try and offer a particular fix. Often we want to support people or jump straight to giving them a direction. This is really important that you refer to police. Have you spoken to somebody about this? Do you need a counsellor? It's really important that we don't go down that route of advice giving, and instead what we do is offer open help. Something as simple as, do you need any help right now? Can I help in any way? What that does for a woman experiencing domestic or family violence, or even a child that might disclose to you, is it supports them to know that it's their choice whether you respond in that moment or if you're just a listening ear. At times in our culture we want to jump straight to the rescue. We want to be superheroes. We want to fix it, particularly with somebody that we know or that's in our community group and we're familiar with. It's really important that we're not superheroes in that moment. First disclosures are often just about a woman or a child testing the water to see if they're believed or not. Another don't is to not share your own experience or compare experiences. Although you may have been through something similar or know something similar, comparing also can start to put people off a little bit and make them feel like they're just one of the bunch rather than somebody actually listening actively to what's going on for them. The other key don't is to not try and find a silver lining. Again, in our culture, we try and look at, oh, well, you must be much stronger out of this, or try and find a silver lining because we jump to that fix culture. It's really important that at that first point of disclosure, we're just doing those 3 things. Actively listening, validating in some way, I can hear this is really hard for you, and offering complete open support. What can I do to help? Do you need anything from me?
I understand knowledge is definitely important. Once they have that, how do they then use that to help prevent DV?
So the first step I'd always say is build your knowledge around domestic and family violence. So there may be a lot out in the media or the general community about domestic violence or family violence, but often people don't know, for instance, what the types of violence are. There's a huge range of types of violence that people experience. It's not just physical, it's not just emotional. And so really learning and upskilling yourself from sources like us and sources like some of the peak bodies, Domestic Violence New South Wales, is really important so that you feel capable in the knowledge of, well, what is domestic and family violence and what does it look like? It's really important that in building that knowledge, you also start to have an understanding of what the impacts might be. So we deal with homelessness every day as a primary impact of domestic and family violence, but for people it might be financial stress. It can look and impact in all different ways for people, so arming yourself with what is it and what are the impacts is a really good place to start with knowledge building.
Okay, so obviously the knowledge that they gather is really important, but once they've got that knowledge, how can they put that into action to help prevent domestic and family violence?
Yeah, so going from that knowledge building to action stage is really about community conversations at a first level or a first step. So we might be around one of our community groups, say it's a sporting group, it might be our workplace, it might be out with friends at the local coffee shop. It's really important that we actually be involved in, or even sometimes lead, community conversations with those that we know about something you might have heard about domestic and family violence. It might be sharing a post on social is a nice gentle way to do it. It might be liking or commenting a post on socials. It might be attending an event. So a walk against domestic and family violence, a fundraising event for a domestic and family violence service. Showing up in the community and being part of the conversations is a really good first step to being an active community responder.
Okay. What type of prevention work does the Haven do in the community?
Yeah, so we do a couple of things. One of the baselines of our value system is that whenever we do fundraising, we do a community awareness and education piece at the same time. So we rely heavily on fundraising because we are community funded in part. But what we see as our responsibility for prevention is to deliver those local businesses, sporting groups and schools an education piece about how domestic and family violence might present in their groups, conversations like this about how you respond to disclosures, and how different sections of our community have a responsibility to respond to and prevent domestic and family violence. So one thing we're really proud of is our schools engagement program. We work with quite a few local high schools in the area, and they are part of the Walk the Talk program, which is an initiative through women's community shelters. And so Walk the Talk goes in and offers them, the students, so they'll be year 9 or year 10 students, essentially an education piece around healthy relationships. The school then adopts their local shelter, which is us, and puts together a fundraising campaign. I then come in and deliver a talk with them and a bit of a workshop around how do they want to connect their fundraising ideas with a community education piece, and what do they want that community education piece to be. What's really important is that it's not only peer leaders in those schools, but it's any child across those age cohorts that are really interested in driving social change and being a community ambassador, and then they're delivering that to the rest of the school as well. So it's a really important piece of what we do in prevention.
Well, yes, I remember in a previous episode of The Heart of the Haven where you had mentioned that quite often it's the teenagers going to the mother to say, I think it's time to leave and to move out. So obviously it's doing what we want it to do, which is that help piece and that preventative work. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for watching Heart of the Haven. If you or someone you know needs support, please visit our website www.thehaven.org.au. On our contact page is a range of services that you can get support from, including the Haven itself. Thank you.